Dear viewers, welcome to Sip and Chat. My name is Atim Sijen, and today with me is Majak Kuany. Majak is SG for Union of Journalists of South Sudan. He's going to be here with us to discuss about the development of media in South Sudan. Without further ado, please allow me to bring on board Majak Kuany. Hello,
Hello.
Majak. Hi.
Yes, how are you? I'm
Fine,
good.
thank you. How are you?
Not bad. I'm doing well. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
a lot, a lot. It's my pleasure. Thanks for coming on board,
Oh,
and thanks for giving me this opportunity, given your busy schedules. Welcome to Sip and Chat, and tell us briefly who is Majak Kuany.
all right. Okay. Thank you so much, Tim Sijin. My name is Majak Kuany. I'm a journalist by profession. I worked for nearly 9 years or more than 9 years so far in the profession, particularly in the print media and online media. And currently, I serve as the Secretary General for the Union of Journalists of South Sudan.
Wow,
So I'm a married man.
I like that.
So yes,
Okay, welcome to Sip and Chat once again. And this is a platform where we talk about youth doing different things in their walks of life. And coming from the background of journalism, I could not do this without talking about media in South Sudan. So I have to bring it back home. So today we're going to be
yes,
discussing about the development of media in South Sudan and how we have grown so far, starting from the time of independence to where we are right now.
yes,
Before we do that, Majak, please allow me to do this summary of updates. In 2012, we lost one journalist, and in 2015 we lost 7 journalists in South Sudan, and in 2016 we lost one journalist, and lastly in 2017 we lost one journalist too. Altogether we have lost 10 journalists in 4 years in South Sudan, and reflect back a little bit about this kind of situation where we find that journalists are being targeted, and at the end of the day there is no justice. So you have been part of this journey for a very long time, you have seen it all. What do you say about this situation where you find that South Sudan is at the rim of such situations where we don't hold people accountable when it comes to media?
all right, okay. Thank you so much for this background information so far. This is the information according to Reporters Without Borders. They estimated the number to be about 10, but literally based on our uh, internal statistic, if we go, because we know this, some of our colleagues, we will be having more than that number. So literally, in the times of 2012 up to date, we may say that we might have lost more than 10 journalists in the profession. And before commenting about this incident, let me just give you also the media landscape in South Sudan.
Go ahead, please.
If we talk about the media landscape currently, if you look back from the time that we got the independent up to the time of 2013, so this way I will be basically focusing basically from 2013 to date. Because why am I saying that? Because this is the time that we enacted 3 media laws. That is the Media Authority Act 2013, and then South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation Act 2013, and also Access to Information 2013. So, seeing that what has changed when these laws were enacted into the law by the president in 2013 and become effective in 2014, so Media Authority was established in 2017. And since then, if you can compare back, because I remember that time around 2014, we used to meet at the parliament,
Yes.
whereby you were covering some our MPs legislating on some key laws of our country. So if you look the time there and the time where the media authority came into effect, there have been minimal cases of whereby they handle issues of the media. However, still there are some key institution within the media authority that were supposed to be established, like
Yeah.
which one, like media compliance desk. It has not been constituted up to date. It is the desk that is supposed to tackle issues of complaint,
Yep.
that either members of the public are having issues with the journalists, or members of the security are having issues with the public. So this desk is really missing, and this whereby the media is having a lot of challenges. So, but at least there is this window. There's this window that we said we have the media laws in the country. Are they effective? This is the question somebody from somewhere can ask. So,
Yes.
despite despite this, to answer back to the question of we have been losing members of our fraternity through the hands of rigorous uh, military officers or government authority. So despite the tough working condition, I will say the journalists now they're finding ways to be able to do their work professionally. And the bad thing that happening is not discouraging them.
Yeah.
Instead, it is giving them resilience for them to be able to do their work. So if you can remember in 2021, two of our colleagues, they scooped regional awards. That is the
Yeah.
work of Simon Wudu and Monodanga. They all work for Voice of America. That is Voice of America in South Sudan in Focus. So what does this portray in the media industry? This gives the young generation of journalists a hope that despite all this harsh environment that we are going through, there is there is a profession called journalism that can inform citizens to have a clear understanding of the affairs in this country. So this is what I can say. Yes, certain
Definitely.
things are happening, but we can't give up. Yes.
Thank you, thank you. You have summarized it very well, Majak. And given the fact that it has been a tough journey, but of course we can say there are a lot of achievements in the process, despite the fact that there are losses as we move forward. Do you think that there's need for us to educate our institutions about the role of journalism? Because I think in every country, for a country to develop that, there should be a media that is independent and transparent. So in South Sudan, it has turned into a situation whereby you look at media as an enemy of the state. Is there a need for us to create awareness within the established government institutions, especially the organized forces, to let them understand that media is there to support the progress of the government and to hold government accountable, and also to give public information is very important. And I do want to quote this: media is the fourth branch of the government that is not actively part of the government in other countries. Is there a
Yes,
need for awareness?
yes. Yeah, sure, sure. You know, the awareness is a continuous thing. We can't say that, okay, if a Union of Journalists of South Sudan is conducting civic education on matters related to constitution making process or issues of election or issues of safety and protection or issues of making sure that of freedom of expression. So this thing can be done collectively, both the media fraternities and the civil society and even the government. They really need to create a serious awareness that to portray that the media are not enemies of the state. Instead, the media are friends that can contribute to the reconstruction of our country. Because, first of all, journalists, where do they come from? They are the
From the
members of the
community.
society. Yes, they
Yeah.
are members of the community. So they are there to bridge the gap. So they are there. They are like a bridge. Today, if
Yeah.
we don't have the Freedom Bridge, if we don't have the Juba Bridge, you will not be able to connect between Gumbo and Juba and the other part of South Sudan. Similarly to the same thing with the work of journalists. If the office of the president is having an announcement today and there is no South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation or there is no iRadio or Radio Miraya or other radio station or newspapers, how will the head of state uh, relay the information to the public? That's why we say we are the bridge
Yeah.
between the authorities and the grassroots. So there is a serious work that really need to be done in terms of advocacy and strengthening dialogue, such that the both the institutions should really clearly understand the work of the media and to be able
Definitely.
to know that media is there. You know, when there is a vibrant media, there is a lively society, because you will have an informed society,
Yes.
and then you will be able to also have a educated society. You will have a society that knows their rights.
Yes.
But when you have a weak media institution, and then definitely you also have a weak society that do not know their right, that do not partake in the issues of the socio-economic, political aspect in the country.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
serious institutions really need to do their best.
All
And
right.
to us as the union, that's why you have been seeing us going around the state. What are we doing? We are making sure that we reconstitute our branches to be able to connect with these ministries, to be able to connect with these state governors, to be able to connect with the citizen, such that they disseminate accurate information.
Definitely. Majak, as much as we also need to, we always say that there's a weakness in terms of working with institutions, but also don't you think that there's also need for us to strengthen our capacity as journalists? Because I know of very young journalists. In our time, we used to have trainings by NPA and other more trainings. We're exposed to a lot of media trainings on ethics, on do no harm reporting and all this. And such opportunities now are not
Yes,
there. As much as we also blame
yes.
the state or the institutions, don't you think that also there's need for us to capacitate our journalists? Because at some point, some journalists would
Mm,
report recklessly. We have the tool to do the
mm,
reporting, but of course we don't have to abuse it. We don't have to misuse the tools that we have. So do you think there's need for
mm,
capacity
mm.
building to journalists also to be able to be on the right side when the law comes to their side?
Yeah, that is true. Capacity building is also a continuous thing. I say there's one of the veteran journalists. This is not for bad. I'm mentioning him not for
Yeah.
bad, but just to reference what he said. This is Victor Lugala. He one time regarded the current journalists that are practicing as pitfall journalists. These are workshop journalists. Though he was maybe having an intention to portray a certain message, but still, if we don't build the capacity of these journalists through this workshop, where do you think that they can really get a certain compressed information that they are not getting from the universities? Remember the universities we are having here, like University of Juba. I am also a graduate from the University of Juba, College of Art and Humanities, Department of Mass Communication. But during our time, we don't have practical.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Juba University having a radio station?
No.
Have you ever seen Juba University having a newspaper? I only see them having a magazine or a newsletter, but I don't know where it is. Is it enough for them to be able to make sure that they put these journalists to practice? It is not. It is
Yeah.
on an individual journalist to make effort
Yeah.
to make sure that you go and practice like myself. Before I venture into journalism when I was in my second year and third year, I realized that I was in a hospitality business.
Yeah.
So when I realized that I was now in a third year and next will be fourth year, so I said it will be part of me or poor of me to be able to start practicing after graduation. So I seek avenues whereby I should start practicing. So this practice later led me into attending some of the training. And today you can see me as the Secretary General of the Union of Journalists. And today you can also read my byline on Chinese news agency, Washington Times, and other international news agencies. But if I
Yeah.
had relied on only the information that I received from these universities, I would be like some of my colleagues that graduated with me. Where are they today? They're either employed by the government uh, uh, and by the government institution, but
Yeah.
they are not practicing
Yeah.
what they went through for the last 4 years or for the first four
Definitely.
years. So they are
Yeah.
not practicing. So we say building the capacity of journalists is crucial. Even though we say that we can do it monthly on from January 1st up to December 31st, it is very okay because like yesterday, we just concluded one a 3-day training that
Okay.
was supported by UNESCO. This training was basically talking about conflict-sensitive reporting, gender-responsive, and ethic and accurate reporting on constitution-making process. So where can these journalists learn this kind of thing to be able to report accurately or to be
Yeah.
able to be sensitive to conflict sensitive minded journalists? Where would they get this knowledge? Not from the university. So
Completely.
we said at least all the partners that are here, they should empower institutions like the Union of Journalists and other media entities to be able to create awareness and to be able to strengthen and to capacitate the capacity of journalists across the country.
Wow, that's great. South Sudan ranked 139 out of 180 countries on the Press Freedom Index 2021. and ranked 39th in Africa before Uganda and Rwanda. What do you say about that?
Yes.
I thought we were the worst country when it comes to major index, but I'm surprised that we're even far ahead compared to other
Yes.
countries like Uganda, who are established long ago, and also Rwanda,
Mm.
and even Egypt
Mm.
at some point. So what
Mm.
do you say about
Mm.
this? Is there a glimpse of hope that we are better than others, or we can improve even more better than this?
Yeah, I will not say that if there is a gleam or what, I will not basically go on this. But what I will say is, if you look at this 139 out of 180, it is a very minimal uh, figure that we are almost to the worst. Why are we ranked this way? It's because that we have failed to account for the journalists that were intentionally killed in 2014, like the 5 journalists that were killed in Raja. We have not done the accountability, so that is impunity. So
Yeah.
this is the reason why you are seeing our index is not changing. So this is one thing that we really need to say as a country. Do we always need to be ranked, or do we always just need to say we are a certain portion away from being the last, and that is it? No. So we bring the perpetrators of these crimes that have committed crime against journalists
Yeah.
into book, and this whereby we will say once we account for these incidences, and then we are later ranked. This where we said, okay, if we are ranked better than Uganda or Kenya or Rwanda, and then this where we will say, okay, at least we are achieving something, and there is a hope that we are going to improve in the next
Yeah.
few years. But if this data is always circulating and we are not saying something about it, the case of Isaiah Ding Abram, who was killed in 2012, the case of Raja, the case of Peter Moy, and then the case of Terrain Hotel, whereby
Yeah.
a journalist was killed. If we are
Yeah.
not bringing these people into book, we will continue to be ranked. No matter we escaped the 130 ranking, still we are not doing enough. So,
Yeah.
eh,
Okay,
so we are
let's
not
go away a
doing
little
enough.
bit from the media development. Let's talk about Majak Kuany as a person, as a veteran journalist.
Okay,
And Majak, when
okay,
you came into the media, you found us there, and you've been so committed.
yes,
I do see you with your bag. We met in the
yes,
parliament more
yes,
than once,
yes,
and you've been doing it with passion. Tell us your journey. Where did
yes.
you start?
Wow, man. Hey, this something interesting. I started from scratch. One time I was working in the hospitality business. I started hustling as a waiter, and then later as a waiter into a barman, and later
Wow.
into a barman. I also shifted into also to doing some accounting. Why all this work that I was doing, it was literally to facilitate my education at the
Yeah.
university.
Yes.
So when I realized that I was now climbing at my academic level, I said, okay, I should stop what I'm practicing now as a hotelier. I should stop now and then venture into what I'm studying. So
Yes.
I started looking for where to practice. So I went to my head of department. That was Dr. Lauren Rebecca Lauren. She's now the dean of the School of Journalism, Mass
Okay.
Communication study at the University of Juba. So I went to her at that time. I said, "Can you write for me to whom it may concern?" I wanted to start practicing. He said, "Yeah, sure, that is good. Huh? Yes." So she wrote for me this. So I sat down. Somebody deceived me, either deceived me or told me the truth. I don't know. That he said, Majak, you know what? You have 3D, which is good for broadcast.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. Do you think so? Can I be a good broadcaster? He said, yeah. He said, okay. So I mapped out the radio station that I wanted to do my internship with. That was the Classic FM. That was the Salvation FM, and then the other one was the Capital FM.
Yeah.
So I started moving around with my whom it may concern.
Which year was
So
that?
that was 2013.
Okay.
2013. So in 2013, I moved around for the radio station. No one adhered to my request. So I later in 2014, I realized that let me shift from
Broadcast.
broadcast now. Let me practice in the print.
Mm-hmm.
So I also look at the Citizen newspaper. By then, Citizen newspaper used to have a very good way of presenting news. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, let me have a Citizen newspaper. Juba Monitor was there by then, and then Nation Mirror newspaper. So all this, I look at them, all the news first of all before I go into to the management.
Mm-hmm.
So one time I got a very interesting news in the Nation Mirror newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
It suited me, it enticed me. So I said, okay, this is a newspaper that I would like to do my internship with. By then, the editor in chief was Wall Attack. So
Mm-hmm.
I started writing my application to Wall Attack. So I went to his office and he told me that, okay, can you come on Monday? Before Monday,
Mm-hmm.
that was on Friday. Before Monday, he called me on Sunday that Majak, you come. I remember by then I was in Gudele, not in Gudele, Mia Saba.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was in
Mm-hmm.
Mia Saba, chilling with my friend, Bur Philip.
Mm-hmm.
So I say they call me. I told them that I don't have transport to go up to Juba town near Chiba petrol station. So he said, okay, we will come and facilitate your transport. And then I say, okay, that's good. I pick a bike, I jump on it. I came to them, and then they told me, okay, we have an assignment for you.
Mm-hmm.
I say, what is the assignment? I don't have the ID. I don't have what it takes for me to start gathering information apart from the theory that I learned from the class.
Mm-hmm.
So the editor in chief told me, okay, yes, this is to whom it may concern again, you show to the authorities, and then assigned me to do a story about fuel scarcity in town. That
Mm-hmm.
was in 2014, August, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, with euphoria, I picked the camera and a notebook. I started going out this road of Muniki. I
Mm-hmm.
found one petrol station. There was too much queue. I said, okay, this queue, let me start taking photos. I started
Okay.
taking photos. Another security guy came and approached me. What are you doing? I said, I'm a journalist and I want to cover this. Say, can you come to our office? I went to the office. Said, uh, we cannot grant you to do interview because you are not accredited. You don't have ID except of this. Otherwise, we are supposed to take you in.
Yeah.
But seeing that you have just shown us your letter from your newspaper, we are not going to take you. And you're also new into the profession, so you have not even gathered anything. So I said, okay. I said thank you. I went back. I never insisted. I went back to the office. I told them what happened. That I failed to get the story on the basis that I am new. I don't have the ID, so they are not allowing me to interview uh, them and also the people that were checking fuel. So I went back to the office. I was told to sit down. I sat for like 2 hours. Luckily enough, somebody brought a press release from judiciary. I remember judiciary they were giving ultimatum of 30 days for them to lay down their tool if government do not resolve the issues of their welfare and working condition. Now the editor told me, Majak, sit down and write for us that story.
Wow.
Remember, this is a press release.
Yeah. So
I know
you have to
I was
extract
told,
news from it.
yes, I'll have to extract news out of it. I was only told that you normally start with the 5W and H. So for me to put these 5Ws and H into a written format, I sweated at Thames Agent. It took me 3 hours.
Wow. Uh-huh.
It took me 3 hours. It took me 3 good hours writing this piece alone. So a graphic designer came and helped me, showed me some few things, and said, okay, this is it. So the story was submitted to copy editor, and copy editor edited and then passed to the news editor. and then went to the desk of the editor-in-chief to decide whether it can go on publication. And to my surprise, I left the office after I felt that I've done something. So in the morning, I was starting receiving calls because they
Okay.
have seen my byline. They have seen my byline on the newspaper, and it was also on the back page. Huh?
Wow.
Remember, in the newspaper, there are only two important pages.
The front page and
That
the
is the
back page.
front page and the back page. So they say that we have seen your story. We have seen your story on the Nation Mirror back page, and it is good. So from there, I said, okay. So which means I can even write better.
Yeah.
That's how I started. That's how I ended
Wow.
up today,
What a very interesting
practicing.
story.
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay, Majak, our stories are almost alike. Those who came to Juba early
yes,
and, venture
yes,
into this profession,
yes,
we
yes.
have almost a story that looks alike. If you ask someone else outside,
Mm,
who was part of this journey.
mm,
So now where you are
mm,
right now, what are the things you
mm,
think you can do to give back to the
mm.
fraternity? Like, of course, there are young journalists coming up, and you are in a better
Yes,
position because you work for the union right now as the SG.
yes, yes,
What are the things
yes.
you need to do to support other
Mm,
upcoming journalists who are feeling, during our time it was a passion. Despite the challenges with
mm,
security here and there, we were really passionate
mm,
about it. But now with these
mm,
incidences of death, some journalists are very careful. Even some are being stopped by
mm,
their parents not to do journalism in South Sudan. In
mm,
the pretext that it's very dangerous. So what are you
mm.
doing? What are you doing to give back to the?
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, this is a very good question. I appreciate you for asking. You know, first of all, in life, for you to know that you are doing something, at least you really need to evaluate as an individual and see where am I making an impact. So first of all, when I started now writing news, I felt okay, I should not just be gathering every news. I should have a bit that I should specialize on, and I specialize on human interest stories and humanitarian. Why this is because that I realized that covering the current affairs was just matter of official telling you this is what we are doing and take it. Yes, it's not bad, it's a news, but I felt like we should go further than that. So I ventured into writing feature stories, and these feature stories, at least they have the sense of educating, the sense of informing, the sense of sensitizing, based on the context of the story that you are developing on its content. So to me, I said I have written quite a number of stories as a feature story. So I realized that not only for me, I just be writing. So I started talking to myself that at least let me put what I have experienced in the field into a document. So there is a document that is in it stages of zero draft that I call essential aspect of journalism. That is feature story writing. So this is feature story writing. Later on, it will be a small book that tell who am I and why feature story writing is very important as a tool of you to be able to educate the masses, to be able to inform the authority, to make a right decision making. So I felt like, okay, later on, if I become like a media trainer, I should have a bit whereby when I stand in front of the young journalists, I should be able to do it with confidence and with much knowledge. So I'm investing my time now to be able to develop this piece, and then once it is ready, at least I will produce copies, and then I will be able to share with the members of the fraternity, at least such that they learn from me what I have practiced in the field, because this is the only footprint that I can leave behind.
Definitely.
So this is the only thing that I'm also, and now as a secretary general, that what I do, I also do train journalists now, and to give them hope that this profession is one of the most five risky profession. But with that, what make it interesting is that you learn every day. It educates you, it informs you. So once you are in, you cannot regret because you have the vision and you have the intention of why you wanted to be a journalist. You don't just say
Definitely.
you need to be a reporter. You just don't need to be seen on a television, but you have a bigger picture than that to be able to educate yourself, to be able to educate other people. That is one thing. And also, for me now at the secretariat here of the union, is to make sure that if you look today, because I know that you're going to talk about the challenges facing
I'm
the
coming to
media
that.
fraternity today, but let me just mention it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
we are facing the issue of low poor pay now. So it is my jurisdiction now as a secretary general to make sure that with the rest of the executive, for us to make sure that we come up with a minimum wage that at least will attract the young journalists that are graduating from the university. That if you graduate today with your bachelor's degree or your diploma or your certificate, you'll be able to be paid this certain amount of money that can facilitate your work. Other than now, the media owners are the one deciding. If they decide to give you 3,000 today, you will not say anything. So,
Yeah.
but if we have the minimum wage, it will be a starting point. Yes.
Definitely, that is quite interesting, Majak. And it has
Mm,
been one of the things we're going to talk about. That okay, what are the roles of media in developing this country? Because maybe
mm,
our government officials might watch this video,
mm.
and I want them to understand from your point of
Yes.
view, what role do media play in nation
Yes.
development? Because I know every country to grow, it needs a very strong media that holds
Mm,
everyone accountable, both the public and the government institutions. But in South Sudan is the opposite.
yes.
So give me five main roles on how media
Mm.
contributes to the development of this country or any other country.
Okay. Yeah, there's, every media, if you look at the Kenyan, Kenya as a country today, we admired Kenya so much. It was because of the media. And
Yeah,
one key aspect that the media does is that it set an agenda.
yeah,
Media set agenda. If you either set a precedent of the country to be transparent, to be to be a country that respect rule of law, to be a country that uh, value uh, human life, that a country that respects media, it is reflected on each media institution in the country. If you look at the South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation today, majority don't worship, and majority do worship on Pacific certain segment of the media. So the first agenda is that media set an agenda. It's like the content. There are few media houses now that are setting that agenda. I remember like Wake Up Juba is there. It is a current affairs. This is whereby a lot of issues related to our country are discussed
yeah.
to be able to make the decision makers to have an informed views of the public that when they put laws into practice, into action, they should reflect the citizen voice. So this is a part of the agenda setting. Also, it make the country to be the country that have the country at heart. By this, I mean the education aspect. Now, if we don't talk about it, and then today we will not be able to educate our masses. Why? Is because that uh, we in the media, we are not doing enough. Let me say it, we are not a young country again, but we are not doing enough. We end up at only going for pressure. But if we educate our masses today, like for instance, how many journalists, national journalists, have ever interviewed our president? You will
Maybe from
find none.
the state-owned television, maybe.
They have never interviewed him. It is only one time that the Garang John was passing, and when the president was going to Addis Ababa to sign the 2015 peace agreement, this whereby they nearly have some interaction. But that was not an interview. I only
Yeah,
remember three people that have interviewed President Kir. That is Jeff Kainange and the other guy from BBC, and then
so
the Kenyan lady.
do they prefer
So, so,
foreign media than
so,
South
so
Sudanese media, or what is
yes.
it? Because
So
I also
this,
have this
so
question.
Yeah, so
Do they
so
prefer?
this
Go
one,
ahead.
we are
Sorry.
not educating, we are not educating masses. But that is the one role of, is the second thing that the media do, to educate masses, and then to encourage professionalism
Yeah.
in our country, and then to fight corruption.
Yes.
So if we are not talking about this, and then we are not helping our nation. It is us as a media to started advocating for all this. So this one thing, these are the few things that I can say that the media is supposed to do.
Yeah. That was a good summary, Majak, and I completely agree with you. You know, there's a key role that media can play in developing this nation, and our government should understand that media is not an enemy of the state, but media holds everyone accountable. And of course, you know, given the high rate of corruption in South Sudan, media could help to make sure at least this corruption is minimized. So I really agree with
Yes.
all the points you have mentioned. Coming now to the challenges in the union, all the journalists, you represent the journalists of South Sudan. What are the key
Mm.
challenges you see that are really hampering the development of media, and what do we do to overcome these challenges?
Okay. Yes, I will talk. If you look today, we have poor infrastructure. The poor infrastructure in terms of, like, if you go now to our national broadcaster, because that is the first PR of our country. So if you look at it, the infrastructure term part of it is not helping. Right? So this one also, the low investment, the people that are having private media houses, they are not investing. If you look at Classic FM, maybe Classic FM is trying to have its own structure. I don't know if they are renting or they are build their own. And the equipment, just not on the aspect of the building, infrastructure goes deeply into the equipment that we do have uh, in our media houses today. They don't really promote that conducive working environment for the journalists to be able to
Yes.
do their work professionally. So if more investors can invest more money into the sector, it will also be good. The other point that I mentioned earlier is poor pay. You see,
Yeah.
we are paying our journalists peanut. That is completely exploitation. We are
Yeah.
exploiting journalists, and this is really a worrying trend. And this is
Yeah.
what we really advocate for. It's one of our first mandate as a union, to advocate for the welfare of journalists. And then coming back also, the training, the capacity building training that we are doing as a media fraternity. Sometimes we don't tell at the content that will really help these journalists that invest their 2 days or 3 days or 5 days uh, in the training. Talk about 8 hours from 8 to 5. This is a very lot of hours that a journalist can spend. But if you don't tell it, if you don't tell it your content that will really help a journalist to sharpen, because what we do now is only to sharpen the
Yeah.
existing skill. Yes. So if you don't do that, and then at the end of the day, you will see a journalist just attended 3 days training and comes out, when you said, what have you learned and how are you putting it into practice? He will not tell, because the content and what the facilitator was saying are two contrary things. So
Yeah.
these are the key challenges that, and then the overall challenge is this harassment. Harassment. You could see whereby our colleague is trying to do work. She was recently arrested and detained for 8 days for doing what? For going out to gather information and to be able to disseminate to the public. So these things are the things that are really hammering the work of the journalist. So what are we doing at the union? We are not stopping there. We're engaging authorities to make sure that they don't see journalists as the enemies, and to make sure that they allow journalists to do their work, because the constitution says, Article 24, that every citizen, no, is not even a journalist, because journalist is part of the citizen. Every citizen has the right to receive, to gather, and impart information without prejudice as prescribed by the law.
Yes.
So now, where does it come now? This is the prejudice already, because they talk of prejudice. They were biased.
Yes.
So when you stop a journalist from doing his or her work in the field, that you're already You're already contrary to the law. And then come to the access to information. That is Article 32. Article 32 talk about access to information, that every citizen or a journalist has a right to access information, a
Yes.
right to access to information. So what are they doing? They are really hampering. So we are doing our best to make sure that they understand that the journalists are part of helping the nation to come out of its current status.
Okay, that is quite interesting, Majak. And I've been following the union, and of course, we're the first
Mm.
founders of the union. But back in the days when we had a lot of
Yes,
challenges, we thought of having a
yes,
body,
yes,
an umbrella that will
yes.
help to sort issues of journalists and try to support or protect the journalists. And I wish you all guys the
Mm.
best. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Of course, it's not
Thank
it's the
you.
process. It might take time for us to realize
Yes,
the change we
yes.
want, but we don't have
It's
to
true.
stop.
It's true.
So that is really
Yes.
appreciated. Before we close this show, there's one thing we do here. We
Mm.
always ask our
Mm.
guests to tell us three things that nobody knows
Yes.
about them. And you'll not skip it today. We want to ask you, if there are three things that nobody knows about Majak Kuany, what could they be? Three things that even me myself I might not know, despite being so close to you.
Hey, yeah. Mm. Hey, yeah. Wow, wow. Three things that people don't know about
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Mm. Okay. The one thing that people don't know, I'm the only son in my family.
What? I didn't
I
know
don't know.
that.
Do you know that?
I didn't know it.
Yes, I'm the only son in my family. Yes. Three things is that people see my current profile picture with my beloved wife. That is not my first wife.
Okay, I know that too.
I yes. Okay, you know that too, but the
But
majority
say it,
don't
because
know.
public might not know. You finish it. Say it.
So my first wife is a Madi. I married outside our community. So that's one thing. I had married somebody from Uganda. So I have encouraged intermarriage. That one
Very
thing.
interesting. Very
The third,
interesting.
yes,
Eh?
yes,
The
yes,
last
yes,
one.
yes, yes, yes. The last one is that, um, what is it now? Okay, the last one I have, since I left home in 1993, I have not stepped foot in my community by the particular
Okay.
Apor where I was born. So it is one big challenge that I've never, see, one people don't know. And maybe people, they don't know where I hail from. I come from a community called Angakwe.
Okay. I
So,
didn't even know that, by the way. I didn't even know that.
okay, okay, yes, yes, yes. That's what
Wow,
I
that
can
is
say.
that is interesting, Majak, and thanks a lot for being with us today on Sip and Chat. Your inputs were very helpful to all the journalists outside there, and we hope we keep inspiring young journalists and tell them that despite the fact that this career is very risky, it's good also. It can let you understand the context of your country
Mm.
better, and also it
Yes,
gives you the
yes,
chance to serve your community. Information is aid, just like we need food, shelter.
yes,
Information
yes,
is very
yes,
important. So thanks for your coming, and if
yes,
you have any last word you would want to tell our viewers, please go ahead.
yes, yes. One thing I would like to say is about freedom of expression. This I will try. I'm trying to reiterate what UNESCO country director once said. He said, freedom of expression is a vehicle to achieve sustainable development goals.
Yes.
And how can each country achieve this? It can achieve through its media. So if we talk about constitution making process, like the permanent constitution making process is now coming up. So what is the role journalists can play here is to make sure that they bring in all the citizens, because the constitution uh, is going to be developed because it's a people-driven process. So
Yeah.
let's put all our synergies to make sure that we encourage freedom of expression, because it's a vehicle for us to achieve all the sustainable development goals, and then also the African Agenda 2063. So it is through this, and also let's know that in our country, maybe in the West, that the freedom of expression is there, but in our country here, it is said freedom of expression is there, but freedom after expression is another is another
It's a
thing that
challenge.
is
It's a
not there.
challenge.
Yes. So what
Yeah.
we can express now, we can express it, but do we have after expressing our views, do we have that freedom? So there are always limitations. So
Yes.
in everything, and this limitation should not bother us as journalists and should not discourage us from doing our work. Yes, we know that the situation has not been very smooth for some of our colleagues, but we wanted to encourage our colleagues that don't give up. Some have left the field for a greener pasture or for them to go into the UN fraternity to be able to put food on the table of the families. But if we are all living as a veteran journalists to go and seek employment outside, who will educate this young blood of journalists?
Yeah.
So if you
That's a
look
good
at the
question.
Western media now, you will see somebody of 60 years or 70 years or 80 years is still in the media. Why are they there? Is for them to inspire the upcoming journalists. So I will encourage those of us that are in the profession to keep doing our work such that the young one keep learning from us. And also
Thank you.
trying to encourage you, the main media now, the main media is not doing its part and it should also keep doing its part so that it build the role models. And
Yes.
then the online media now, we also have a quite number of online media now should recruit more journalists to be able to practice. And then content creators like you, because at the moment in South Sudan, what we have now, we have like we are trying to go into more content generation than
Yes.
in the mainstream media and then the online. So you people like who have see the gap in the content generation, we would like to say that keep doing what you are doing. Maybe someone there, somewhere there at the university is listening now or is following a team Sijin on Sip and Chat and is inspired for him to be able to come up with his own platform. So this is the
Definitely.
only thing that I can say, that all of us have a role to shape narrative of our country.
Thank you so much, Majak Kuany, and thanks for your time. It's quite a very educative session with you. And on behalf of myself and Sip and Chat, we say thank you. Keep supporting our journalists, keep being an umbrella, and may God also protect you as you negotiate our safety
Yes,
with the authorities.
yes.
So otherwise, have a good day, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. See you.
Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right, viewers, that was Majak Kuany, the SG at the Union of Journalists of South Sudan. We've heard from him. It's been quite a very interesting conversation looking at the media development in South Sudan and the challenges we're facing. Of course, I don't want to add more because Majak has mentioned everything in regards to how we can support the media in this country. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. My name is Atim Sijan. I'm the host for Sip and Chat. And if you want to be part of this conversation, please do always send your message to us and we can see ways to bring you on board. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend.